This is a probability analysis of the Asian final qualifying round. First, let's review the last round.
Japan, playing at home, had an overwhelming advantage. Bahrain and Australia's win rates were around 50%, weren't they?
The results were a draw between Japan and Saudi Arabia, and wins for Indonesia and Australia.
Saudi Arabia managed to get 1 point, didn't they? Indonesia's victory is also big news.
It was a frustrating defeat at home for China. Let's look at the points based on this.
For a while it was a very close contest, but now there's a gap.
Japan has secured top spot. Also, Bahrain and China can no longer qualify for the World Cup with a top 2 finish, as they are 7 points behind with 2 games remaining.
So they're aiming for a playoff spot by finishing in the top 4, right?
First, they'll want to surpass Indonesia. Next, let's look at the win rates for each country.
It's less about win rate and more about loss rate determining the rankings, really.
Ultimately, the fewer losses, the higher the ranking. Next, let's look at goal difference.
This is also neatly ordered by goal difference.
Because the goal difference gap is large, even if a team catches up in points, lower-ranked teams are likely to be at a disadvantage. For example, Australia and Saudi Arabia are 9 points apart, so they may need to score a lot of goals.
So just matching points might not be enough. We need to pay attention to goal difference from now on.
Next, let's look at the ratings.
Saudi Arabia is in 3rd and Bahrain in 4th, a reversal.
It was the opposite last time. It's switched back again. However, it's a close margin, with a 34-point difference. Depending on the next round's results, it could switch again.
Indonesia and China aren't that far apart either.
Keep in mind that these teams are closely matched. Now, let's look at the probabilities using these ratings. First, the probability of finishing in the top 2.
Australia has significantly improved its probability.
Australia has a match against Saudi Arabia in the final round. With a 3-point difference in points and a 9-point difference in goal difference, if they draw with Saudi Arabia at the end, they have a high probability of effectively securing 2nd place.
Even if round 9 doesn't go well, that is.
Indonesia has a tougher situation in terms of points and goal difference, and they also have a match against Japan remaining. This is the reason for their low probability. Next, the probability of finishing in the top 4.
Australia has secured a top 4 finish. Saudi Arabia also seems almost certain. The final spot will be contested by 3 teams.
There's no doubt that Indonesia has an advantage in terms of points difference. However, Indonesia's remaining match is against Japan. The round 9 match against China will likely determine their fate.
The ability to play directly against each other is good news for China.
Bahrain's 30% and China's 15% are probabilities that occur quite often in everyday life. They still have a decent chance. Next, the point probability for 2nd place. The probability of it being 14, 16, or 17 points is high.
For 16 points, it would be either Australia winning 1 and losing 1, or Saudi Arabia winning both.
Both possibilities are included, but the probability of one of them happening is high.
For 17 points, Australia would win 1 and draw 1, and Saudi Arabia would be unable to catch up. For 14 points, it would be either Australia drawing 1 and losing 1, or Saudi Arabia winning 1 and drawing 1.
Probabilistically, you can't assume that 14 points is enough, so Saudi Arabia has no choice but to aim for 2 consecutive wins.
They need to play aggressively in the last 2 matches.
Next, the point line for 4th place. The probability of it being 10 or 12 points is high.
For 12 points, it would be either Indonesia winning 1 and losing 1, or Saudi Arabia drawing twice. For 10 points, all teams below Saudi Arabia have a chance.
For Bahrain and China, 2 consecutive wins might be difficult, but they should aim for 10 points first. The probability of the 4th place team having 10 points is over 40%, so with 10 points, they might have a chance.
Goal difference needs to be considered, but it's good to have a target number of points.
Next, the probability distribution of points at the end of the season.
Indonesia has a peak of 12 points in the remaining 2 matches, so the most likely outcome is 1 win and 1 loss.
It's rare to have such a clear probability of wins and losses.
It's a close contest, but the distribution is slightly skewed to the left and right.
This skew represents advantage and disadvantage. The overlapping part represents the possibility of a reversal, so while there is a difference, there is still a chance for all teams, as can be seen here. Next, the future match schedule.
First, for the top two contenders, Australia and Saudi Arabia, Australia has a higher win rate in both the round 9 and round 10 matches.
Australia has the second highest rating after Japan, resulting in higher win rates in each match. Their opponents are Japan and Saudi Arabia, but from Saudi Arabia's perspective, it's a more advantageous position than against Bahrain and Australia.
Looking at the competition for fourth place, the matches between Indonesia and China and Bahrain are exciting.
Direct matches, depending on which team is playing at home, have similar probabilities. The next round could determine their fate, and there's a possibility of drama in the final round.
There's also a non-negligible probability of Saudi Arabia losing both matches and getting caught up in the fight for fourth place.
There's about a 20% chance of Saudi Arabia losing both matches, which isn't low. Goal difference will be a barrier, but there's a possibility of two teams from Indonesia, Bahrain, and China sneaking into fourth place. Next, the next round.
In round 9, there doesn't seem to be any overwhelmingly superior team.
All three matches have higher rated teams playing away, so the probabilities won't be extreme.
It's amazing that there are no favourites in such important matches.
First, let's support our own country, but let's also look forward to the overall result. Well, I'll leave it there for today. Please subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up.